Okay, we're live. Welcome to Grooming Pros. My name's AJ. I've been a pet groomer for 15 years. I have I've done over 10,000 haircuts. I have also taught hundreds of people personally and thousands of people online how to groom. The reason that I am live streaming this, one purpose is to teach other groomers, but secondly, to be accountable to myself and my customers. So that my customers can watch as I am working on their dogs so that they know that the dogs are in good care, that they're being well taken care of, and that they're safe and happy. Um, although dogs don't consent to dog grooming, so they're not going to love everything. But we got to do our best to make sure that they're never in danger and do our best to give them the best experience that we can. Um, so yeah, let's get started. We'll go ahead and pop both cameras on. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do on little Reggie, we're going to find out what haircut we're doing. We usually do the same haircut every time. So we're going to be doing a number 4 on his body and then a half-inch teddy bear on his head. We'll do puppy ears, which is trimming them to the shape of the ear itself. And then we'll just do a little trim on his tail. So we'll do a number 4 with our half-inch. Get this all ready. First thing that we're going to do is I'm going to shave the diamond or the bridge of the nose. But there are some breeds of dogs that you don't shave the bridge of the nose. So you want to be make sure you don't necessarily always shave the bridge of the nose. So doodles are one that you never do. If you have a white dog with white fur, you typically don't want to shave their nose either. It just their pink skin gets exposed and it doesn't look very good. Okay, so now I'm going to go over this other side, and I'm protecting this eye that I'm close to, and then I'm also going the opposite direction to get all the hairs back and forth, keeping that eye safe. Okay, now that stop is good, or the diamond. We'll go ahead and shave the insides of his ears, being careful not to nick this little flap right here, so I'll go ahead and just cover it up. Save all these hairs as short as I can on the inside of his ears. Do the same thing on the other side. Another way to do it safely to avoid that flap is to just go this direction into the flap. You can never cut it that way. Okay, now that the ears are done, next thing we're going to do is the pads of the feet. I'm going to tighten his leash just a little bit, stand him up. The feet are usually the area where dogs will give you some trouble or they'll be a little reactive. So I always start as if the dog is going to be reactive, and if they don't, then I'll loosen up and I'll relax. And but I always start this way just in case if they do try to bite, I'm safe and I'm far away from their mouth. Looks like he's not reacting at all, so we're good to go there. And when you're shaving the pads of the feet, you always shave in a V shape, following the top pad. The pad right in the middle has a V shape to it. The other way that you might mistakenly do it is to do an X and accidentally shave between the toes. Instead of stopping at the bottom of the pad, right here, you might accidentally go like this, too far, and then you risk cutting the toe skin right here. So you always stay in a V, and you switch from top to bottom to get all the hairs on both sides of the pad. That pad's looking pretty good. We'll go to this back leg. We do the same process to all the feet. Zip off all this hair. There's a little bit of sap is stuck in his feet. Sometimes you'll have mats or little little plant stuff like foxtails or burrs can get stuck in their pads. But most commonly, you'll just see either nothing or sap gets stuck in there real easy. And but the most common, besides nothing, is just little tangles. Um, because of all the movement that happens between the pads, it makes the hair can get tangled up quite easily if it's been a little while since they've been groomed. And we'll do this last front leg. Start from the top, scooping down. He's got a pretty good tangle on this side, so I'm just working at it little bit by little bit, trying to scoop it out, but I can't actually scoop it this way because it's matted and stuck to this side of the foot as well. So I have to come from the underside and try to work underneath that mat. Hang on, Reggie. It's okay. Now, Reggie's starting to resist a little bit. It's probably a little uncomfortable with this mat coming out of his foot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to apply a light correction and then offer some subtractive rewards. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I've got a video on rewards and corrections that you can check out. I'll try to leave it in a pinned comment if you're watching after the stream has ended. Um, or you can search how to correct and reward dogs. I think that's what it's called. Shucks, I should know that, shouldn't I? But essentially, when he starts tugging his foot forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a correction, an additive correction, where I hold onto his foot and prevent him from doing it. So he might be tugging and trying to pull his foot away, and I'm not squeezing so hard that he can't move his arm or his body at all, but I am holding onto it and telling him that I'm in control, and you have to hold this foot still. As soon as he relaxes his shoulder and stops pulling, I release a little bit too. That release is an additive or a subtractive reward. And those little rewards make a really big difference when you're dog grooming, because he had a correction of like, why is my foot being restricted and held still? And then he got the reward when he relaxed. So he learns that when he's relaxed, he gets a reward. Okay, now that we're done with the pads, we will shave his Sani. We'll lift this back leg up, give him a little Sani shave. Okay, now we're going to shave his butt. There's a little bit of poop. We don't want to wash that off. We can just shave it off. It's always going to be a little easier. And now that this blade has poop on it, we're going to separate it. Make sure that I leave it face up so that I know that that's a dirty blade. So that once I get a little bit time later, I can clean that. And I don't use it on their eyes or their ears and possibly contaminate those areas. Okay, now we're going to cut the nails. And the same thing, I'm going to work back just in case he's reactive. Good. Now, one of the other rewards that you can offer that's in that video is a verbal reward. And that's like I'm saying right here, good or yes. Those are verbal rewards. When you pair those with a subtractive reward, like what we did earlier when I released a little bit of pressure, or if you pair it with a treat, which is an additive reward, you, you greatly strengthen the verbal reward. They'll connect that verbal rewards, good, yes, also means like that they're going to get a treat or they're getting that release of pressure. And then you can use the, oh, oh, we've got some distractions. Okay, everybody. Okay. Okay, that's enough. We have a little poodle party in here. Sorry for the interruption, everybody, but that's how it goes in dog grooming. I forgot what I was saying, so if you wanted to hear me finish that sentence, you can leave a comment of what the heck I was saying, and I'll try to reply to it. I don't actually reply to comments while I'm live because this is my job and I'm working and I have to keep moving and getting the dogs done. So I won't be replying to any comments if anyone's typing them now, but after, if I get some time, I'll try to reply to them. Okay, everybody, calm down. No, hey, it's okay. No. Okay, that foot's done. Now let's get this back foot done. When we're cutting the nails, we are trying to get the nail cut down as short as we can. We're looking for the moist circle inside of the pulp. And that moist circle will usually be a darker color like brown, black, or sometimes red, depending on the dog's nail color. If you want to see a more detailed video on that, I also created a nail trimming video. It's called How to Cut Dog Nails Perfect Every Time. That will show you the nail anatomy, and it'll give you some tips on where to start cutting the nails, how to know when you're done cutting the nails, and how to identify when a dog's nails have been broken so that you don't accidentally cut a nail that shouldn't be cut. Okay, now his nails are all done. We're going to go ahead and check if he has any hair in his ear canal. Pluck it out. And it looks like he does. And when you're plucking the ears, you only pluck the hair that's inside the ear canal. That's why it's really important that we shave the outside first to make those hairs really short. It helps to avoid accidentally plucking them. We're just going to pull out all these hairs. Here's a little tickly. Not the best, is it, buddy? He has very little hair, but still a little bit uncomfortable plucking the ear hair. If you don't pluck the ear hair, light and air can sometimes be stopped because if the hair gets too thick, and it can really add and make ear infections worse. But a warning, if the dogs have an active ear infection, do not pluck the hair out. Ripping the hair out when the ear canal is already swollen and inflamed can just make the inflammation worse, and it can actually make the ear infection worse. So if it's infected, don't pluck it. Okay, now we're done with the rough-in. We're going to go to the back, and let me go get the bathtub camera on, and we'll get back there. Drink a little coffee, get some energy. I love coffee. Okay, let's get to the bathing room. Alrighty, we're going to attach Reggie in so that he doesn't try to jump out. If you have this leash too loose, where the dogs think that they're not attached at all, that's when they actually try to jump out the most. Now, you don't have to have them so tight that they can't move. It's not choking him, but you do need them to feel the leash so that they don't try to just leap out of the table or out of the kennel, out of the tub. That's a common way that dogs would fall off the table or end up falling out of the tub is because the leash is too loose, but it's still attached, and then they end up hanging. It's really bad. Okay, let's get the water warmed up. Okay, this is my bathing system. It's the Davis uh, Pro Pet Washer. It pre-mixes the soap for me. And I have 4 different options for soaps, and I can either rinse or bathe. Really nice. Super big time saver. Okay, we're going to do the anal glands first. Um, we're going to lift his tail and reach underneath. This is an external expression. We're not going inside the rectum at all. There's 2 little bulbs below his rectum. I'm trying to get underneath them, and then I'm going to lift them up towards his rectum and squeeze just a little bit. And I'm just going to keep holding that pressure until the anal glands start to come out. There we go. One of them emptied. See if we can get the other one. There it goes. Not sure if you can see that. There's some brown goop little spots. His glands were a little bit more thick, but they weren't like a clay. It's more like a little bit thicker mud. That's pretty common. Um, when there's a problem is if they're super full and the dogs are being very reactive, and they're acting like it's very painful. The anal glands might be impacted or infected, and in that case, you do not want to touch it. You might make it rupture through the skin instead of expressing naturally through the rectum. So if it's really full, really hard, don't touch it. Send the dog to the vet. Okay, now we're gonna wash. I apologize if the audio is horrible and it's really loud. This is my first time using this mic in here, and it's really loud in the bathing room. So we're gonna wash his body. Making sure to get under the pads, under the armpit, belly, his back, hip, both sides of the tail, underside of the tail, his bum, back leg, inside of this other back leg, and then I'll spin him around. We'll do the same thing on this side. That way I can get the underside of these other legs as well. Make sure to get the pads, get his belly. Okay, and just like that, his body is washed. Now we'll turn the soap off. Oh, looks like we're out of soap. So what I'm doing now is I am going to dilute the shampoo into this little mixer bottle. I use Earth Bath oatmeal and aloe shampoo. Really gentle, pretty good at getting them clean. So I will have the bottle filled up with water about to here, and then I fill it up the rest of the way with shampoo. I have tested different levels to see what will actually make a good lather and what won't. And this is a good point where it lathers quite nicely, but I'm also not using too much, and which would not really be bad for the dog as much as just wasteful of the shampoo. Mix it up, mix it quite well with the warm water. Okay, now we're going to get his head wet, trying to avoid getting any water in the ears or in his nose. But it's okay if the water gets in his eyes as long as it's at low water pressure. Come here, Reg. Come here, buddy. It's okay. It's okay. Good boy. Come here, buddy. Come here. If you are spraying over the dog's ears, and the second that you spray over their ear, they act like they want to shake, let them shake. You probably got water in their ears, and they can shake it out pretty easily if you let them. If you don't let them, the water might get deeper into the ear canal, and then it might get stuck in there, and that's an easy way to cause ear infection. So I'm just going to apply the soap, lather it in. If it doesn't lather, then you haven't applied enough soap or you need more water in that area. If it feels dry, add more water. If it's just not lathering, add more soap. Really greasy dogs will require a lot more soap. And if the dog's had any mats, the soap actually doesn't get through the mats very well at all. So you would have made a mistake if you have mats in the bath and you didn't brush them out or cut them out beforehand, because underneath the mat will also not come clean when they're really thick. So if you have mats in the face, ears, or tail, or really anywhere, you want to either brush them out before the bath or cut them out before the bath. Okay, just lathering up quite nicely, trying to get under his eyes. Now I need to get the bridge of his nose. This is kind of a tough spot to get in there and not get soap in the eyes or in the nose. It would be better to have soap in the eyes over the nose. It will irritate the eyes and it's not comfortable. You want to avoid it, but you can rinse the eyes out. You can't exactly rinse the nose. So if you have to err towards one of those where you might get it in the eye or you might get it in the nose, I would lean towards the eye, and then just as soon as you can, after you're done scrubbing, just rinse the eye out so that that soap doesn't stay in there any longer than it needs to. Nice low water pressure. We're just going to rinse. I'm going to hold this ear down, that way the water doesn't go in the ear canal, and I'm going to rinse over his eyes. Now as I'm doing this, the water is going under the bridge of his nose, and it's kind of pooling, so I'm doing it in small bursts so that the water doesn't overflow the bridge of his nose and actually go into his nose. Good boy. He's doing great. Oh, see right there? Probably got a little bit of water in here. See the way he reacted? So let him go, let him shake when you're doing it on their head. When I'm rinsing his body after this, I might try to stop him from shaking, but when I'm doing the ears and head, I always let him shake to get that water out. Okay, now I'm going to get under the leash, make sure that there's no soap stuck under there. If you leave soap anywhere on the dog, that's one of the best ways to cause a hot spot, which is just a spot of irritation where the soap is irritating the skin and it becomes really itchy. It can become inflamed. What often happens is the dogs start scratching at it until they're bleeding, and then they have this big open wound that typically gets infected and becomes a problem until the soap comes off of the dog. And sometimes it takes much longer than that because once it's a wound, it's itchy for another reason, and the dogs sometimes don't leave it alone. So make sure you rinse all the soap off the entire dog and don't create any hot spots. We'll do a little more pressure on his body now. Be a little bit faster. You might notice me rinsing each area multiple times. I always over rinse just to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's much better to waste a little water, spend a little extra time rinsing over risking not getting the soap off. Okay. All right, now that we've got that all done, just gonna rinse the soap off of there. Next important step is I'm going to actually wring out and make sure there's no soap on my hands. Sometimes it's on the washer, but I'm good right now. I'm going to wring out all of the water, and as I'm doing this, I'm checking for any leftover soap. Most common areas are in the groin right here, in the armpit, the pads of the feet, and it'll feel slippery. When they're wet, it has a level of slippery feeling to it, but it will be extra slippery when there's soap there, and you just check your hands. If there's any soap, rinse that area again. He's good to go. Now we're going to grab a towel drying him off. Okay. And I'm kind of doing the same process. I'm rubbing and kind of squeegeeing all the water to just get as much of it off as I can, rotating through the towel to find the next dry spot, and I keep rubbing there until that's wet, and just do the same thing until he's all dry. Or he won't be all dry, but until he's mostly dry. The majority of the excess water is off of them. They won't be dripping anymore. Okay, now let's get over to the drying table. Go fix the camera again. All right, now I'm just gonna double check. Didn't miss anything. Sometimes there's water pooled up in the tub, and so I'll go over the feet again. But he's looking good. Okay, big guy. And I tie a slip knot just in case we emergencies, I can immediately flip that out and he's free if anything happens where I need to be very quick, get him off the table. I'm going to bring this up. And now it's going to get really loud. Apologize again if the audio is really horrible and blown out. I'm not going to talk much because you won't be able to hear me. But I'm going to put in earplugs for him and me, and then we're going to get him all dried off. I just use earbuds. These ones feel to my ear pretty well, and they make it a lot quieter. There's like motorcycle earbuds if you don't want to spend a little more on this, but you can listen to music or podcasts, and it's really nice. And then for the dogs, we use cotton balls. For him, let's just see if the big one fits. I doubt it will. Yeah, a little too big. Can't get down in the ear canal, so I'm going to tear it in half. Stuff it down in there. This works great as an earplug for the dogs. This one's a little too small. I tore that one in half better. That probably didn't need to waste that cotton ball. That was a waste. Yeah, I stuffed that in there. All right, now let's get them dry. wash you down and do the face. Okay, now we're all done. Now we will start the finish process. And we're gonna head back up front and turn this camera off. Okay. All right, now these all bathed and dried. We're gonna start with his head, and we're doing this clip-on, half-inch clip-on. I start with the head because when I get this length to where I need it to be, it helps me know how far up the head or the neck that the line needs to be for setting the line on this teddy bear. So having that length set up top first really helps to figure out where that is. You can shave as far down the neck as you want. It doesn't matter. The neck is going to be shorter than the head. As long as we're using this longer length, you can shave down there. I'm going to come down the side of his face. I'm going to flip his ear back. I don't want to shave the ear hairs. I want to trim them with my scissors. Keep his eyes safe. Shave everything underneath, on the cheek, on the muzzle. Now we're going to shave under his chin. Hang on, Reggie. Hang on. Okay. Hang on. Hold it. When they're wiggling, what I usually do is just kind of pause. If you were watching the drying, you would have seen me when he started kind of wanting to move a lot. I just paused with the dryer, tried to hold him still, and uh, right where he was, not advance my movements at all. Just pause until he calms down, and that will help him get out of that panicky little moment that he's having. And it also kind of is like applying a, a correction where I'm controlling him. And um, but the key to pausing is to they're reacting to something that we're doing. Um, and if you just keep going, they're going to keep reacting and they're going to get worse. So I pause, get him to stop the reaction, and when he's calm, then I just keep going after that. And that'll help them not escalate into further and further reactiveness. Get the side of his head. Make sure we got over here under his ear. That all looks good. Now his head is roughed in. And we'll grab our number 4 blade. And we'll find the part where the head naturally slopes down to the neck. And I'm seeing it to be about right here. Probably can't see on that camera very well. Somewhere about right here, but when it switches, you might be able to see that it slopes down and stops right about there. So that's where I'm going to try to blend it in. I'll start a little lower and then I'll work my way up to it. Because sometimes it seems like it would be here, but when you cut the hairs, you realize you needed a little bit more length in order to actually blend it. So always start lower and then work your way up if it still looks like it needs to go higher. Okay, now it's super important when you're doing a number 4 blade that you back brush. Look how much hair is going to come off after one back brush. Same area, all that extra hair. The 4 is a fairly long length, and if you don't back brush, you won't have an even cut. I'm going to loosen this up a little bit more. Reggie's being really good. He's not trying to walk off, so I don't need to worry about that too much. I'm going to lift his head up, and I'm going to set this line all the way around his head. This is called setting the line for the teddy bear. So I did the back first. Now I'm connecting it under his ears. Sometimes it's easier to come under the chin. And you kind of do the same thing. You look where that length naturally set it, and I'm seeing it's going to be somewhere about right here. And then I'll back brush over the same area just to make sure it's smooth. And it looks like now that I've set that line, it looks like there's long hairs below where the bottom of the chin should be. So I'm going to go a little bit higher on my line. A little bit tighter. Good boy. Now, I got started a little late today. I'm hoping I'll be able to finish the stream, but I might have to cut it short because the next dog and the other groomer is coming in. Um, I do plan on not having that issue in the future, but as of right now, she doesn't want to be on the stream, so I'm going to respect her wishes, and I might have to cut this a little short, but I'm going to try to hustle and be able to get it done for you guys. Now I'm coming around to the other side of the ear, under the ear. Blending that all in. Make sure I back brush. And I'm doing two things at once. I am setting the line of the teddy bear, and I'm also shaving everywhere that the leash is going to sit around the neck so that I can put the leash back where it needs to go. I'm doing those both of those steps at the same time. Okay, I'm liking how that's looking. Let's go ahead and put the leash back. And you know what? Just in case I do have to cut it short, let's do the head and show you guys how to do a teddy bear. So now that my lines are set, I'm going to grab my comb and I'm going to comb all the hairs back to that line to see what comes past it. And I'm going to blend that line into the body so that it's nice and smooth. Start with the back of the head, and it looks like I actually do need to bring this line up just a little bit more. I'm going to try to do it with my scissors, see if it'll come out smooth. Sometimes that doesn't work and you have to set the line again with your clipper. I think this is going to work though. So I'm back brushing the hair, and I'm also, that fluffs it up, and now I'm combing it back to that line to see what goes past it. And I'm also cutting the hairs in the direction that the hair grows. That helps it to blend in more naturally. If you do go against the hair, like if I was to cut here like this, I have to cut a lot less hair because the scissors grab more of the hair when you're cutting against it, and it'll take things a lot shorter than when you're cutting with it, which is why with the hair blends it better than cutting against the hair. Okay, that line is pretty well set. I got to take just a little bit more right here. Now I'm gonna fluff these hairs up, and I'm gonna look at it from a slightly different angle. I was looking at it down this way. Now I'm gonna lift the head up so that I'm looking over to see what hairs are much longer than the rest from this angle after I back brush like this. Now I'll comb it back this way, make sure everything's sitting nicely. Sometimes when you back brush, only certain hairs will actually lift and stay up. So you have to comb back and forth to make sure that your head's even. Hang on, Reggie. Now he's jerking his head a little bit, and it's a really easy way to make a hole is to cut right when he makes a little jerky head movement, lifting his head up like that. So you have to be careful of that. Don't just cut, 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 cut. Make sure you're being purposeful and only cut when he's holding still. Stay. Good. Good boy. Okay. Back of the head is looking good. Now I'm going to comb all the hair forward. And the front of the eyes, where I shaped the stop, that is my line. And I'm going to cut all the hairs that are hanging over that line. Now, when you're cutting the face with your scissors, you never approach the face with the point of your scissors towards the eyeball. You always approach the face with the point of the scissors past the eye, and then you bring it in like this. That's going to make sure that you never, ever poke an eye. It's the safest thing to do. Another way to keep the dog safe is to just cover this eye when I come in, and then I can cut these hairs on the right side with that left eye covered. Stay. Comb this all down again. Stay. Good boy, Reggie. Okay, now we'll do the same thing on the other side. And because I'm right-handed, I can just stay over here with the tip of my shears past the eye. I don't have to worry about covering this eye as much. It's a little harder. But now I need to, so I'm going to cover that eye. Come inside. Now these little eyebrow points are sticking out to me, so I'm gonna cut them off. Let's go. Okay, now that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to tip the head down. I'm going to comb everything forward again. And now that I've set that line uh, here, when I tip the head down, I'll be able to see which hairs come past that line. Okay, looking pretty good. A little bit more this side. Some long hairs right in the bridge. Get those blended in. See? Okay, now the top of the head is looking pretty dang good. I think this side's still a little bit longer. I'm just looking side to side, glancing from this angle and then this angle, and from here I can see that this side's just a little bit longer. And as I'm rounding this side, I don't want to just wrap around because I'm no longer going with the direction of the hair. The hair grows down like this. So as I come around the head, I'm going to bring my shears up to actually trim like this, follow that direction of the hair. Okay, now I like that. Next step is we're going to come to the ears. We're going to blend the top of the head into the side, and we're going to get this side of the head all done. All of these hairs that are not part of the ear, I'm going to separate the ear hairs. That's all ear. I don't want to cut that right now. I'm going to comb this all back. Anything that comes past the ear canal can be cut. Now I got some hairs right here. Cut those. And sometimes when you stuff cotton balls in the ear, it folds hairs in there as well. So you want to pull these cotton balls out. And you'll notice that one cotton ball is much dirtier than the other. That was in his left ear right here. So we're going to pay extra attention, check for, make sure that we get that all cleaned out really well. These are both a little dirty. I'm just going to toss them. If they were clean, I would reuse them to clean his ears. But when they're dirty, it'll just put more mess back in there. Okay, so we'll come back to this line. And there's one little hair right there that's coming past this way. Now, I'm going to have to loosen this leash. You don't want the skin pulling up. It changes the shape of the head. So you have to make sure the leash isn't lifting up the skin and changing that shape, or else it'll mess up your head when you're doing this. I'm going to now connect this line all the way down and blend all these hairs into the line that I shaved. So I'm going to comb everything past. And as I'm combing it past, I'm trying to lift it away from the body as well. And I'm going to come back behind the ear. I'm going to use this line that we set earlier. I'm going to follow it, see where it's shaved underneath. These hairs come past. We're going to trim all that. Now I'm going to blend it from this top side so that it's not just a sharp ledge. I'm going to lift these hairs up and I'm going to try to do a taper or a blend. Hang on. So that it looks a little bit smoother. Okay. Now that the line is set around and I've set it right here behind the ear, I'm going to look at the dog from the front. I'm going to comb all this hair out to see what now sits past this line. I'm seeing all these hairs from this angle in front of the dog. I can see that these don't blend into that line. And now I can see that these don't blend into that line. And now the side of the head right here is looking really good. Okay, now that that side's done, I'm going to come to the muzzle. And I'm going to bring everything down to my chin line. I'm going to clean that up, and I'm going to continue that through all the way to the bottom of the chin, out to the end of the muzzle. I'll just follow this line all the way there. Okay, now that the bottom of the chin's looking pretty good, I'm going to comb out everything on the muzzle and do the same process that I did to the side of the head. I'm going to look at him from in front to see what comes out past where we've already finished. There's a little bit below the eye. You have to be careful of this spot. You can see he's blinking, and it moves the hairs. And shih tzus are notorious for this. His isn't doing it too bad, but it will completely change the position that the hair sits when it's naturally laying down. So you do have to be careful. Make sure that they're not blinking a whole bunch of hairs into the scissors that shouldn't be cut. And that's one, it kind of just takes experience. You have to see what it looks like when you mess it up to really know, like, oh, okay, those were the hairs that I shouldn't have cut when they blinked. Um, but just know that when they're blinking, it changes the shape of the hairs, and just try to learn each time that happens to get a little bit better. Okay, so now we're gonna keep following this trail all the way around the muzzle. I'm looking from the front of the dog for this. Okay, and now we've gotten to the lips. When we get to the lips, I comb all the hairs down, trying to pull any hairs out of his mouth. Really common for them to get stuck in there. And all the hairs that are directly in front of the lips that go in the mouth, they'll usually be stained, they'll be a different color. I'm going to trim them to the bottom of the top lip. Hang on. Now I'm holding his mouth closed because what will happen is they'll often lick the hairs back in their mouth. I'm going to try to get these cut before that happens. And one thing you want to be careful of is you don't want to trim the hairs that are on the bottom lip. We don't want to trim these hairs at this moment. We don't want them to be the same length. It's not the end of the world if you do it, but it just doesn't look quite as good. So go for this again. Okay, now I'm liking that. Now I'm going to tip the head down, and I'm going to see what hairs actually come past the nose. The nose is going to be my next line, and I'm going to try to blend it all in so that nothing is hanging out too far past the nose. So the head is down, and I'm looking at it from above the dog. Okay, now I can see, as I'm doing this, the chin hairs are actually hanging out past too, so I'm going to trim them. And now I can come back to the muzzle, now that that line in front is set, and I can pull all these hairs out. Oh, hang on, Reggie. Pull all these hairs out, and I can look from this angle over here. I can see that these hairs are still sticking out. Let's see if we can get the camera switched. You might be able to see these hairs now from that angle. I can see that they're out and they need to be cut. And there's some right here too. See, these are the ones that he's blinking. He's blinking and he's pulling these in, and they're sticking out really far. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to isolate these and pull them out. I'm going to pay close attention as he blinks. I'm going to go in a little bit further than you should in order to cut these. This is the pro method. Really easy to mess that step up and actually make the head look worse. So if you're not confident, you don't know which hairs are getting moved, don't try this, because it's really easy to make a giant hole if you cut the wrong ones. Okay, now that I've cut those hairs, I can see that these ones below it are a little long. And to just follow that all the way up the muzzle. Okay, and now this side of the head looks really good. There's one little spot over here. I'm looking from the top to where it's blending in. It's not quite round. And these eyelashes are still just a little long. I'm going to trim them up a little bit more. There we go. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the right side. Start with the side of the head, comb the hairs back to the ear. Anything that comes past the ear canal gets cut. Comb down to my neckline. Anything that comes past there gets cut. Come down to the chin. Connect it to my neckline where I just trimmed. Follow it all the way down to the end of the chin. And if you notice, I'm getting down to the level of the chin to look underneath it to see which hairs actually need cut. Now I'll come to the front and I'm going to connect this side to this side so that it's even on both sides. I'm holding just under his lip to try to get a good hold where I can keep him still, but also not be flattening out all these hairs that I need to cut. So I'm going to try hold just under his lip, see if I can get him to hold still like this, comb all the hairs down, and then I'm going to trim them. Good job, buddy. Good job. Okay, now we're going to do this side of the head. Look at it from the front, blend it all down, see which hairs need to come. And I'm getting my shears into this position that's following the direction of the hair. That's why I'm coming to look, and then I'm coming down to cut. I see which hairs I want to cut, I focus on them, get to the right position, and then cut them. If you figure that step out, you will be able to see what hairs need cut so much faster and so much better than most groomers. And you'll have really good quality if you can really master that process of just finding the angle that you need to see which hairs need cut. Now I'm going against the hair here just because I'm having a hard time getting that angle just right. But remember, if you go against the hair, it's going to take more hair. So you have to stay a little bit further away from the head in order to not mess it up. Okay, now we're going to come to the muzzle and under the eye. Try to get this little spot where he likes to blink and pull those hairs in. See if I can't get it even. And now that I've got that trimmed, I'm seeing that this side's actually a little tighter than his right side. So I'm going to tighten up his right side to match. And that could have been from the way that I set the lines. It might have been from just the cuts that I did on his left side. But it doesn't matter why. You have to balance it. So if I end up taking this side too tight just now, then I have to now match this side. And you can get into a vicious cycle um, of making holes back and forth until you have no head. So you have to be a little careful with that, particularly when you're really new. But balance is the key. So if you make a hole on one side, that's your new line. You just tighten everything down to that hole, and then you try to match it on the other side as best as you can. But if you find yourself in that cycle of continuously making holes back and forth, just stop and get it close and leave it a little bit uneven. It's better to have some hair on the face than no hair. Okay, now seeing that where I reached in to catch those hairs when he blinks, it left a little long spot right behind it. Okay, now we're looking pretty good. Next step I'm going to do is on top of the nose. I'm looking at the hairs that come up above where I've shaved. I'm going to come over the nose like this and trim those down. Looks like there's a few on that side. When you're combing right here, do the same thing that we do with the scissors, that you don't point the comb's teeth towards the eye. I have the back side, so even if I do bump his eye, it's flat, it's not going to poke him when you approach the eye. And he's got some hairs sticking up right here. And he's got a little too much eyelash still. So let's come back to this. And his face is almost done now. So what I'm doing is I'm just looking over the whole thing, brushing everything down, brushing it up to see if there's any hairs that are really out of place. Looks like I missed some of these hairs along the muzzle. And I'm just double checking all my work. Double checking each line, looking at it from each different angle to be able to see past the edge and do all the little minor touches to get his face done. I think his chin is just a little too long. It's not quite balancing in to his cheeks. So we're going to take a little bit more off of his chin. And then I'm still seeing some funky stuff where those where he blinks and it pulls those hairs. But I'm afraid I might be getting into that vicious cycle of trying to fix it and just making it worse. So there's just going to be one long spot. Try to trim this very, very little. Yeah, I'm going to call that good. Okay, next we're going to do his ears. We're going to comb, we're going to make sure there's no tangles. I'm going to brush out these ears. Very little hair on here, not likely to be mats, but there was one little one that I just got out. One little one right on the end on this side too. Okay, now for puppy ears, I trim it close to the leather, but not quite to it. So I'm probably a ½ inch off of the leather. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Brush all the hair out. And it's most ideal to have the ear draping naturally, but I also want to go with the direction of the hair. So that's where I kind of came like this to go with the direction. You can cut it against it. You just have to remember that it's going to take more than if you were going with the hair. So start with a smaller cut. Okay, that ear is looking good. This one. Come here, Reg. Come here, big guy. Okay. So the ones in back are still a little long. Yeah, about an inch right there. Okay, now up above is a little long. Yep, almost done. And we can just finish your body and you can dent all this face stuff. Okay. Now I'm looking at it from the front and he's looking really close to being done. He's got still just a little bit more. Since we took the chin tighter in the front of the chin, I need to follow that back. Take a little bit more off back here. Okay, that looks good. Then I'm seeing one more spot right here. Okay, I like it. Final step of doing the head is cleaning the ears. We'll get a fresh cotton ball, tear it in half, put some ear cleaner on it. Always squeeze out the excess ear cleaner. Some people will put it directly in the ears, and it's supposed to be safe as long as the dog doesn't have any eardrum issues, but you never know if they do. And if they do have a ruptured eardrum and you put an alcohol-based ear cleaner in there, it's going to burn. It's going to hurt them a lot and cause some nasty stuff. So this ear's pretty dirty, but it's not really infected. It might be showing early signs of infection. There's just a little bit of pinkness, which is early signs of inflammation. So I'm just gonna get the cotton ball in there, try to get it in all the crevices. Use a clean side of the cotton ball for each wipe. Go ahead and grab another one. Hey, Reggie. He's kind of getting close to the edge right there. I didn't like it, so I'm just gonna tighten that leash up. Take these earbuds. And